when Chad and I went at it live in the visitors' locker room in Cincinnati the Tuesday before the Bengals opener. I was very happy for Chad last night when he and Boomer Esiason were inducted into the Bengals Ring of Honor. So, Keyshawn, you played receiver, obviously, at the highest level, and you are related to Chad. You're cousins, right?
Yeah, somewhere in the pipeline. Okay. You know, we have found out that we have a very, very strong.
So you are a good one to put Chad's career in perspective.
Yeah. Look, had he won a Super Bowl or deep playoff runs, there will be no question in my eyes that you have this Hall of Fame conversation around Chad and his career. Because typically Hall of Famers, and I wish Michael was here, when you're voted in the Hall of Fame, there's other than just statistics, right? What did you give to the game, the actual game of football in the National Football League? He gave a certain charisma.
He did.
Fun, competitive all the time. You know, and so much like when you talk about Deion Sanders in Colorado, Chad Johnson did it his way. He didn't do it the way they wanted him to do it. He didn't act like, oh, you're supposed to act this way. No, I'm Chad, that's how I'm going to be. I'm going to perform on the field because this is entertainment. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to kick some butt every single week that I step on the field.
Yeah.
And hopefully it amounts to major success on the field, which it did statistically. It didn't necessarily team-wise. They were on a roll with Marvin Lewis as a head coach until Carson Palmer ACL got torn in the Pittsburgh game, and then
that was
it was like they just never got back to that again.
Kimo von Oelhoffen, he did it to him.
But what I would say for his time in the National Football League over those 11 years, or call it 9 years or so before a couple throwaway years, Chad was one of the top 4 or 5 receivers in the league, bar none. Mm-hmm. I mean, he really was a great route runner. All of those things. I mean, I enjoyed playing against him, but also watching him play.
Richard.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he was elite during the time he played, especially his prime. He was creative in his route running. He was dynamic. He was a showman. He was an entertainer. I mean, he was in the end zone. You couldn't wait to see what he was doing this next week. I think he's the reason a lot of these receivers now are doing all this crazy dancing in the end zone. You know, he'd do the cha-cha slide. He'd freaking give CPR to the ball, whatever it may be. But he was such a great entertainer, but he was also a producer. He produced on the football field. He had over 11,000 yards receiving, over 65 touchdowns. He's a guy that played at a high level, and you appreciate him getting celebrated.
Yeah. I got to know Chad pretty well. You know him very well. Man has a good heart to him. Just has a big, good heart. I know he's had his issues, but I just genuinely like him. If you spend time around him, you like his heart, and he's a people person, and he's fun to be around. But to Richard's point, he shattered some molds. He did do it his way. Yeah. And what I appreciated was he came from nowhere because he was not a big high school star in Miami. He's Liberty City and
Langston.
Yeah. And then he went to Langston, where Thomas Hollywood Henderson went, which is just in the nowhere, just north of Oklahoma City, and didn't even play football there. And then I think through your connection, you got him out here to Santa Monica Junior College.
Transferred out to Santa Monica Junior College. Coach Charlie Collins coached him up a lot.
And Steve Smith was there.
Smitty was there with him. So Steve Smith, Chad on the same team in junior college. And Chad is a one-and-done guy, meaning he only had 1 year to play college football. He had no more eligibility. Coach Dennis Erickson, through Charlie Collins, who's the head coach at Oaks Christian now, said, okay, I got one for you. And Coach E said, along with Yarborough, who's the coach of the Rams receivers now, said, we want this dude. And the rest has been history for him.
T.J. Hushmanzada was there.
Went there with him as well.
Yeah. And then they both wind up
at the Bengals
in Cincinnati. And Chad was a high pick. He was just barely in the he's 36th overall.
Because you didn't back then, there wasn't enough data about him as a player. 12 games or whatever you want to call it in college football. You know how these general managers are. They're like, it's not enough.
But I watched the bowl game.
Good enough to go high second round.
High second round.
But not good enough to slip into the first round based on the footage.
Absolutely. But do you remember against Notre Dame? They just destroyed Notre Dame.
Yeah, they destroyed
them. The field.
Destroyed them.
So here they come, and he and TJ were the perfect 1-2 because TJ would do the dirty work over the middle and make the tough catches, the possession catches, and Chad could just fly, and he could run all day and all night. He's running just as fast in the fourth quarter as he was in the first quarter.
And you would think, right, Richard, you would naturally think, and Skip, that a professional athlete at this level, right, would eat just the best cuisine ever, right? It's chef, the whole deal.
No.
Man, this dude, McDonald's.
He's a McDonald's guy.
Man, Chad, I'm not going to no damn McDonald's. Oh, man, come get me, bro, and we going to roll him. No, we're not rolling to McDonald's. We're going to get some real food. And then you get there, all he wants is chicken fingers and french fries. I didn't bring you to the five-star restaurant for chicken fingers and french fries. I brought you here to get Branzino. I didn't bring you here for that. But that was who he is.
Okay. And then to your points about showmanship, entertainment. In the end, it is an entertainment vehicle. It's what we watch for the football, but we like to be entertained. Well, he's shattering the mold, and it was self-promotion to some extent. But
I used to, out of all people, though, Skip, you would think, right, with me, you're like, oh, you wrote a book. But Chad would tell you this. I used to tell him, I call him and say, man, don't do that again. I would tell him. And he'd be like, man, leave me alone. I just would tell him, don't do that again, Chad. Don't do that.
Because you didn't do any of that.
No, I wasn't that. I wrote a book.
Yeah. You wrote a book. Just give me the damn ball.
I still remember when he wore the gold jacket on the sideline. That was an all-time.
And I think things like that rubbed people the wrong way. And the old school mentality as such is you're being disrespectful to those that are in the Hall of Fame, and you think you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame before your time. So therefore, when your time comes, we're going to X you out. We're going to make you sit, wait, rock. I mean, and you saw it with T.O. because of T.O.'s attitude. They made him sit, wait, and rock.
They did.
Based on his statistics, he should have been first ballot Hall of Famer, no question about it. But because of personalities with the old guard, you didn't do it our way, and you're not going to do it our way, blah, blah. So you get X'd out, you got to sit and wait.
T.O. is a different story to me. But
it might be a different story, but if we're looking at the body, and this is just the way that I know it as an ex-player, looking at the way they were voting then on the Hall of Fame, it had to be about your performance on the field.
Okay.
But people have taken it back then, they took it off the field unnecessarily, in my opinion, about somebody's antics, but not about their production on the field.
Yeah, I was around 3 of T.O.'s teams, and he was a divisive locker room force.
And that may have been the truth.
Yeah, but Chad was not.
It has nothing to do with you performing on the field.
He just hurt his team. It made it hard to overcome. But let's stay on Chad.
Yeah, we're on Chad.
Okay, so Richard got a kick out of Hall of Fame jacket. That was my biggest point of contention face-to-face with Chad when we first went at it in 2009 was, he got a fake gold jacket and put it on the sideline during the game on a Monday night where the whole world is watching after he caught a touchdown pass. And I said, Chad, it's just presumptuous. You got a whole bunch of Hall of Famers watching. They are going to be deeply offended by this because you haven't earned that just yet. He was still pretty early in his career.
Yeah.
Okay. Not a great idea. But all the dances, listen, when he did the river dance, which was hot at that point, the celebration.
I know he did so many of them. I'm just trying to think.
The river dance was classic to me because he could really do the river dance. He worked on, you could tell he spent a lot of time in front of the mirror.
Guy too,
he's a soccer guy.
Good feet.
No, he had good feet. And he was a good place kicker.
Yeah.
And he's a big video game soccer game. Yeah. No, I got it. But I appreciated the gumption it took for him to say, I'm going to do it this way because it's fun and people like it.
Yes.
And they did. And I look for, every time he scored a touchdown, I'd be like, what's next?
It became one of those deals, and not the same as Major League Baseball in the steroid era with Sosa and McGuire, and all of a sudden, I got to do it because I need the home runs. It became Chad's doing it, then it became T.O., then it became Steve Smith, and everybody that played that position that would score touchdowns had a little act to do because it started with him. He started doing it, then it just I don't know, it caught fire to the point where everybody started doing it.
And you know who it drove crazy was Marvin Lewis.
What's going to drive all coaches crazy?
It just drove him crazy.
Right.
And yet Belichick and Brady loved Chad Johnson. He was Chad Ocho Cinco in that reign. But the point was that they wanted him in New England. And when he got there,